The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digital TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
Hello beautiful people, you're welcome to the Snap Talk with your girl Teddy Tenjo every Saturday right from 6 to 7.
It is your responsibility omwana wo kubeera mu nyumba nga teyasuze bweru mbo bamubanja rent. Koyo kulaba abalenzi abasajja abakunga butuufu tebabuulirirwa nga babulamu.
Towerabira nti tuli wano ku the Alternative Dig Talk. Mukwano gwange gwaliye topic kiji wandiyagadde twogereko. Is it about family?
You can take your time, look for a job, stabilize, men will come, men will always be there, you will get the men. Bonna goyagala musajja yenna goyagala ojja mufuna.
Embaga ketuuke. Bino bitu byasenga na ojja bafuna.
Naye ng'oli asitudde ttu yakedde ku macabaga nti nsitudde ttu. Naye nga mubutuufu agambye nti gy'akyali muto.
Is it outside family? Is it society? Oh, could it be relationships? Just be commenting a topic yona gyandiyagadde twogereko tujjako tujogera ku the Alternative Dig Talk ku share enganzi the Snap Talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
No, it's okay. Not so. Very good evening, our viewers. We thank you for joining us this evening. It's another edition of the Hotline Show where we discuss a number of issues within our country, Uganda, purposely to see that we add and also contribute to making Uganda a better place for all of us. Well, my name is Abdulatif once again, and we all know that yesterday Uganda celebrated its 60th independence. And of course, you all know, for those who were able to see what happened at Kololo, where the function was graced by 5 presidents from within the region. And of course, this speaks much when you talk about the relationship between Uganda and other countries. For any country to progress, you must be in good terms with your neighbors. Just like our families. If any family is to move forward, you must be in a very good relationship with your neighbors. And in this regard, we want to applaud those who were in charge of yesterday's event as we continue celebrating 50 years of independence. Well, earlier on, we told you that we will be having Honorable Amelia Anne Chambade. And yes, we are extremely delighted she has been able to join us this evening. I want to give Honorable an opportunity to say hi to our viewers before we proceed to the entire discussion. You're most welcome, Honorable.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me.
A pleasure.
And it's a pleasure being here to talk about the topic of women, women's journey for the last 60 years.
Surely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable, and we really thank you that you've been able to create some time to join the discussion.
Thank you so much.
Tonight.
Yeah.
We all know that you cannot witness development, progress of any country, and then you leave women behind.
Yes.
And as we celebrate, because these celebrations must go on.
Precisely.
Yes. Now that Uganda is 60 years old,
yes,
since it got its independence,
yes,
one would like to know, how has been the journey for the women? You know, we all know that they have a lot they can contribute to the development of the country. And maybe you cannot again talk about the women who have really been so much progressive in this country. And you do not mention Amelia Chambade. And maybe like to kind of take us through, according to your own lenses, how do you see the journey of women as we celebrate 60 years of independence?
Thank you so much. First of all, what I would like to inform Ugandans is that Uganda has led in Africa, has led in the promotion of women, except South Africa. South Africa is way ahead of us. But for the rest of Africa, Uganda has been one of the leading countries. Okay. So when you look at our journey, we know very well that just before independence, women were really marginalized. People always say that they were kept in the kitchen. But they were not definitely kept in the kitchen. They were also struggling
to get out of the kitchen.
To get out of that kitchen. How? They started by forming organizations. And the earlier governments, for example, the governors and those regimes before the 60s, never allowed women to participate in politics. But they recommended that they hold organizations. And these organizations were mainly in form of Mothers Union, organizations that were only dealing with nutrition, social services, maternal health, things like that, domestic work, and issues like that. But as soon as we attained independence,
that's from 1962.
1962. Women felt a stronger drive to join leadership, to join politics. It was still a struggle. So what women did, they formed a women's council, and this women's council was on the basis of ethnicity. You would have Indians, you'd have British, you'd have blacks. And you had powerful women emerging. For example, there was Viziram, they used to call her Nambiru eventually. Those were some of the stronger women that came out. Lubega, Rhoda Kalema, all these were Lubega, Rhoda Kalema, Bita Masiri. Yes. So all these women, having been under the Women's Council, started advocating for politics. They started by protesting the deportation of the Kabaka. Okay. They started with that.
That's around 1966.
Yes, around there in the early 60s. Then there was also Teresa Odongo Duka. That was also a very prominent woman. So in so doing, they qualified eventually for the National Assembly in 1962. And in the National Assembly, they started looking at women who would be able
to lead the others.
To lead the others. And that is when you had Florence Lubega. She was chosen among many. May her soul rest in peace. I understand she passed on a few years ago. But she became one of the most powerful women to be in our politics. So now, in the 60s, we started looking at even at other positions. Not only leadership in politics, but for example, mayorship. There was a lady called Wesonga
yes.
from Bali. She was also considered as a powerful first mayor,
in Uganda,
female mayor. And when NRM came on, that was much, much later. As women were trying to get out of the kitchen, they strengthened their organizations. You'd find religious organizations, you'd Catholic organizations, Anglican organizations. All these were building their women. Muslims, though Muslims not so much. Muslims came on much later. For them, you know, the role of women is not so...
According to the Sharia.
Yes. So then there was this women's conference, the women's conference in Nairobi, which was really a turning point for the journey of the women. Women's conference in Nairobi, that was much later in the 80s. There was a women's conference.
But that was before the NRM government.
That was before the NRM government. But that is when women actually started building up their drive to be in politics.
Actually, my question there, Honorable, wanted to, you know, you've mentioned all these ladies, the Florence Lubega, the Wesong and all that.
Yes.
But when you look, you know, the public gotten to be so much interested in women issues. I think shortly after NRM coming to power, you know, much as those women were there, they were into their own struggles, but they were not so much at the limelight as one would think.
Yes.
And I don't know what really, much as they had their conferences, the women organizations, struggling to really make it, but they didn't really hit that as one would have expected.
No, it was mainly when NRM came into power in the 80s, in 1986.
Yeah.
So that is when you found people coming out like Betty Bigombe, who was involved in the conflict, in the north, where nobody dared, no woman dared, but she dared and went and convinced the Holy Spirit, the Lakwena, not Lakwena, it was Lakwena then. Okay. No, it was Connie. Both.
No, it was actually
she started with Lakwena actually.
Yes, yes.
And she managed to convince talks between, convince government to hold talks with that conflict in order to resolve the conflict in the north with the Lakwenas. So she won herself a position of Minister of State for Minister of State in Defense. And then, of course, we started, that's when government started looking at women like Njuba, like Sechitoliko for agriculture. And you could see that out of 75 ministers, a number of women, there were about, anyway, there were still very few at that time, there were about 10–15% of women as women. But now, as all that was going on, there were also other appointments. The judges, at that time, you had never heard of a female judge. The first one was Connie Byamgisha, her lordship. Then you found that they started looking at people like Miriam Matembe to draft the constitution. It has never happened. Women to participate in drafting of constitutions. There was a lady called Maitum, Mary Maitum. These were very powerful women who helped to draft our constitution.
The Dutch constitution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So then in 1995, of course, then they started looking at female magistrates. Now all these things are evolving from the lobbying, that was being done by different organizations. Religious organizations, they would come with their representatives, bishops and all that. And then you could see that by 1995, women leaders constitute of 17% of the ministers. Okay. 17. So you could see the number was growing. Yeah. And permanent secretaries, you could see 35%. Most of the permanent secretaries were men. You cannot believe it. There were very few women. But you could see now there were dramatic changes in our leadership. And you could see that women were taking on roles. Under secretaries were 12%. Now district administrators, even women started taking roles as DAs, as district administrators. And you could see that was 16%.
Honorable, was this by default, or it was the system in place that gave them that platform to rise up?
It was the system in place. For example, the NRM, when NRM came into power, it came with a 10-point program. Although there was a point that was talking about discrimination, it was not very focused on women per se. But women started interpreting or translating it as meant for them. Of course, there was a gray area there, but they said, no, this meant us.
We are being discriminated.
Yes, we're being discriminated. We are among the discriminated ones. Sectarianism and all that. We are vulnerable. Let us fight. So that is now where the agitation came from, and women started benefiting. Now, when you look at commissions, you could find human rights commissions and all that. Yeah. Men. But now, women started coming on board. And you started at education review commissions. Now you could see that in our law, Article 31 and 32, it was, Article 31 and 32, look at the Constitution of Uganda.
Yeah. Article 31?
Article 31 and 32. It was, got from, 31 and 32. Check and see.
Article 31 and 32.
Check.
Article 31 says, Article 31 says rights of the family. Men and women of the age of 18 years and above, that's 31.
Yes.
Years and above have the right to marry and to found a family, and are entitled to equal rights in marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution.
So, although it was also a bit vague, but still women jumped onto it and they said no. I think this one, we have rights under the Constitution. But go on, can you read?
Then 2 says Parliament shall make appropriate laws for the protection of the rights of widows and widowers to inherit the property of their deceased spouses and to enjoy parental rights over their children.
Yes.
Then 3, marriage shall be entered into with the free consent of the man and woman intending to marry. Then 4, it is the right and the duty of parents to care for and bring up their children. Then 5, children may not be separated from their families or the persons entitled to bring them up against the will of their families or of those persons except in accordance with the law.
Yes. So now you could see that women used all opportunities to advocate or to lobby or to fight for their visibility and presence. But not only women, but government also considered taking on that. So now, besides the commissions, of course, I've talked about the judges and the magistrates. That's when we had the first vice president. This was a big breakthrough. Yes.
Actually, she was
and
the first
remember, yes, it happened in the middle of a reshuffle. So everybody was shocked. It happened in the middle of a reshuffle, and everybody thought, my God. But now you could see that now women we had started enjoying the fruits of NRM, the fruits of their struggle.
So
and
that
advocation.
having a female vice president was more of a concrete breakthrough now.
Oh, it was. Because at first, remember, she was in gender. She
Yeah.
was a Minister of Gender and Community Development. But we had never had a female vice president.
And no one thought about it.
No one thought about it. And not only Uganda, but even in Africa.
It was a
No
shock.
one. It was a shock. Because remember, even recently in Tanzania, getting this female president, still there was a lot of
Stereotypes.
friction. Yes, yes. So this one was a big achievement, and you could see that women started regaining their esteem. They started, not regaining, but attaining their esteem. They realized that now a woman can take on a role. So you found that many women started now going for positions of men, not only in politics, but even sports.
Yeah.
There was a lady called Mary Musoke. She was, I think, a tennis player. There used to be young, just men doing that. They started going for rallies, motor rallies. We started competing
with men.
And men in sports, even jobs, engineering, doctors. Others were there, but you could see that they were a bit discriminated, especially when it came to promotions. To promotions in your jobs, you know, you couldn't see a female people. They were it was very, very rare for them to be promoted. You had to work, because what you should remember, that Africa has a patriarchal society where people believe that it's only men
who can do things.
Who can do things. But we realize, because I must say that I've been also part of this later. I came in later. I will talk about it, and I'll tell you how I did it. But now with this, then you had the local councils.
Yeah.
Local councils.
Maybe we should stretch it back a little bit to CA.
Yes.
Constituent assemblies.
Yes. Constituent assemblies. Remember, most of those people were men.
And they were having elections almost for the very first time after.
Yes. Yes. Then, of course, in the beginning, most people were men, but afterwards, women started joining in. And electing them, people still had this, that one is just a woman, how will she manage? But, of course, affirmative action had to be taken to enable them.
Actually, that's why I had my next question there.
Yes, affirmative had to be taken to enable them to compete, because there was still that discrimination or stigma amongst the population. How will she manage? How will she manage? And that question, up to today,
people still ask.
People still ask.
They do not believe that women can.
Yeah, that women can achieve, can also be achievers or performers.
Honorable, yes. I think just stretching on the same point, we've seen women in key positions, including you yourself.
Yes.
And I don't know how you're going to respond to this, but I know you will.
Yes.
And how has been the performance of the women who have been in very key positions, be it in governance, in even other big offices?
Well, besides, well, before I talk about myself, let me talk about women generally. I think women have actually retained their integrity in a way. And in some roles, you find that this actually differs, because some women have not had self-esteem maybe to compete with men. Mm-hmm. And you find that they're always in the background, even as leaders, some of them. But those who have stood their ground have actually been performers, They've been women of integrity, and they've been women of integrity and trustworthy, committed, and dedicated to their jobs. Of course, at a cost and sacrifices, because sometimes you find that they've had to sacrifice their families as a result of that, because maybe they committed, they dedicated a lot of time
to the job. At the expense of their families.
At the expense of their families. So that has been one of the negative aspects of women in leadership, that it has been quite difficult to balance their private life or family life with their work. So in my case, I must say I've held several positions, and I remember the first one. I had been living in exile. I had been living in Sweden before I came back. Well, I must say, yes, I went into exile because of the
politics.
Yeah, because of politics. But when I was called back to work in State House, the first challenge I realized I had to fight was to go back and self-nurture myself and improve on myself. So I went back to school while I was working.
That's when you did the BBA?
Yes, when I did the BBA, I did the masters, I went away. I realized I couldn't do the masters here because there was so much work. So I went away and did the masters. And that empowered me. So I would recommend that women in such positions, first of all, should look at themselves critically and see, are you able to compete? Are you able to cope with a task that has been assigned to you? So once I achieved that, eventually I was promoted. I was promoted because now I could do it. Now the challenges I encountered is that even when you are in a boardroom, the last person to ask an opinion is a woman. In any meeting, what is your opinion about this? And in most cases, it is women who really think deep. Men, of course, think deep as well.
My producer is enjoying the conversation.
I should not say this, but it's that is a fact. But you're always the last person. Oh, maybe, you know, it is always like, maybe Amelia has something to say. Why wouldn't I have something to say? And I would always come in. I was thinking this. Well, I think we should handle this issue like this. My opinion is this. And sometimes there's a surprise. Then sometimes a man would come in and say, on the other hand, you've given an opinion, but he still feels the same banacho. The same banacho. On the other hand, well, okay, Amelia say this, but on the other hand, I think we should do this and this and that. So you still feel that there is still that a woman should not. I remember when they appointed me as a PPS. How? Of course, men were not amused. Say, how?
Will she manage? Will
she manage? And imagine, yes, and imagine there had been other female PPSs, but of course in their acting capacity.
Yeah.
So someone would think, oh, there was Madame Magezi, there was Hilda Mtsubira, may their souls rest in peace. But it was always like, will she manage? They have confirmed her? No, but that is a male position. Yeah, that's a male position. Then, of course, they start insinuating, oh, why is she favored? Why her? Why her? So you can see that all those are challenges. People still believe that you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be in such a powerful position. And how did I manage also to teamwork? There's no way you can perform alone. You need a team. And team comprising of both men and women. But that is one way of also building capacity amongst the women. You must bring women on board. Although they would protest, they would say, no, but I think it is the men who should advise you. And then, no, you know, they don't do it directly, but they would say it in such a way. Maybe Mr. So-and-so should advise you, or this.
Honorable, just on that same point, you earlier on talked about when you returned to Uganda, you're like, no, I need to better myself.
Yes.
You went for further studies, and
yes.
You've interacted with a number of women.
Yes.
Do they have that kind of thinking that, well, this is where I want to be, or any time I could land onto, you know, a bigger responsibility or a bigger task ahead of me? How do I put myself in a better position to fit in? On average, do women think like that, or that was so much of an extraordinary of you?
Well, the problem with women is that once you pick on them, they think, oh, I'm the best. I'm the best. You really have to have that sense of self-criticism or self-analysis to be able to evaluate yourself and work on yourself. I've discussed with women in Parliament, in everywhere, but I find that they always think, oh, I've been chosen on merit, so I'll manage this. That is one. Two, we fight each other too much. We step on others. And I'll talk about that point in affirmative action amongst women. Why haven't the senior women built capacity amongst the younger women under them? Because that affirmative action was meant to build cadreship amongst our younger generations. So you find it even in their careers. They stifle growth amongst themselves as women. And once we get out of that, we will not enjoy this emancipation. I mean, once we don't get out of that, we will not enjoy this emancipation. Because we think about ourselves. It's me. It's me. I can do it. I'll do it again.
Honorable, on that same point, you were in Parliament for 10 years.
Yes.
And maybe this would be one of the conversations you would bring on board, you know, on the floor of the Parliament. That, because why should we have one single member of Parliament on affirmative action representing the constituents for all times? For instance, their constituencies we know, and since this country went into elections, it has been represented by only one individual ever since.
That's not right. I think that is now killing the purpose of affirmative action.
Yes, and my question here is,
why didn't we raise it?
Why didn't you raise it? Because we're in Parliament, and now, you know, when you speak about it, I really feel the pain inside you. Yes. And like, yes, maybe we need to create space for other young people to come, the young women. But why didn't you table something in Parliament like, no, on affirmative action, let's have term limits. You should not be on affirmative action. Unfortunately, you are not on affirmative action.
No, I was not.
Yes.
I was not on affirmative action. I refused. I said, why should I be on affirmative action? I said, let me prove my worth. Let me prove my worth and see whether people will appoint me like any other male appointment. Of course, I got a lot of resistance. Religious delegations were coming to me to stop me. Religious delegations were coming to me to stop me from standing as a full member of parliament. Hey, Kati, what which for no? Echamwe. Chino chaffe, chino chabana baffe, tabani baffe. So I got a lot of resistance, mainly even from religious groups, from women who would say, well, you are one of us, but you know, we can't support you because there is a position here for you. Affirmative action. Janguano, let that one be for the men. You know, we shouldn't be seen to be antagonizing them. So why do you look at it as antagonism? Why don't you think I have the capacity to be in that position? I refused. And I said, if you are not electing me...
Is the women movement doing enough? Because looking at your preamble from the 60s, we've had the women movement trying to raise the voices up, trying to create, to fight for space, recognition, and all that. But if we still witness this up to now, 60 years down the road, we still have this. People still believe that America cannot stand with a man, of a constituency. Is the women's movement doing enough?
It's not doing enough. Because what we have done is that we have abandoned the groupings, the organizations which used to get together. Now we have come on individual merit.
Yeah.
We are looking at ourselves as me. We have become very selfish.
It's no longer we.
Yeah, it's no longer we. So if we are not careful, we are going to kill
and lose it all.
The goodwill. The goodwill of NRM, the goodwill of the wave of the movement. I mean, the movement of the women, of promoting women. Because I can see ourselves becoming more selfish. You have seen women fighting each other. I found this in Parliament and I was shocked. You stand up to bring out a point. A fellow woman comes up and kills it. No, she should not shine. Why should she shine all the time? Why her? Why her? I remember of late I've been making some statements which I thought they were generating from the public. And I got most criticism from fellow women. Ah, this woman, she's a show-off.
She wants to shine.
She wants to shine. But these are issues that are generating from our people, from the public. And once we in leadership do not bring them out, how will they know that we have that we are listening to their voices? It is us to show them that we are aware of the concerns they have. But most criticism, women. Whatever you say, she wants to show off. She wants to shine. She has ulterior motives. So we women, if we do not get together and fight for our women, and fight for the younger woman, for the youth, that girl child will suffer more because we are not there for her. You look at the challenges. I remember I've been for MP, but you realize that as much as we have women in every district, they should be the ones to fight for the vulnerable girl child in their districts. They are suffering, they run to men, they become more vulnerable actually, because they are abused by the male leaders. Where are the female leaders? So in my case, I would work for them, work for the women, and for me, I was supposed to do that overall. because you are full MP.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Honorable, we have over 140 women members of parliament. And one would ask, just like adding up on what you've just said.
Right.
Do we need these 140 women members of parliament or women representatives in parliament?
Well, I must say without any fear or favor, they have not performed fully. They have not performed their role
to their expectations.
To their expectations. They have not groomed. Okay, the older ones have not groomed the younger ones. They have not catered for the vulnerable girl child and disabled. You go to these districts, see how they are suffering. These girls are suffering from, they have not catered for women suffering from domestic violence, girls suffering, abused by their relatives. What is that word? Incest. Yeah. There are incestuous cases all over. Defilement. Where are the women MPs? So, if we are not careful, we might find us destroying our own achievement, because the numbers are there, but they're not felt. They're not felt.
When you talk about the leaders who have not done enough to, groom and nurture the others, should this be like a personal initiative, or do we need like some sort of a legislation that if you're put into such a position, your mandate should stretch to this far? How should that be, Honorable?
But once you go into leadership, you should know why you're going into leadership. Let me give you myself as an example. I had a good job. I was working as a principal private secretary. But I was never sacked. But why did I leave? First of all, I used to see these budgets every year, every financial year, as a PPS. But where I was staying, these budgets were not trickling down to the grassroots. I looked at my schools. I looked at the health centers. I looked at, and I'll go back and compare the money that is spent through local governments.
And what is there?
And what is there. So for me, I went there deliberately to ensure that as much as I legislate here and appropriate the budget, let me follow it up to the grassroots and see that the vulnerable people benefit. That was one. Two, I started an organization called Tourism Development Foundation, and I wanted to support those groups that I couldn't continue supporting the vulnerable groups when I was in State House, because the people who were supporting me, most of them, supported me for a purpose, because if you're looking for beds or hose, I'll come and give you the hose and I'll say, hey, I need this letter, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, there would be strings attached. So I said, but why don't I just go and work for these people and leave this job? Because it was conflicting with what I want to do for the people, but also my work. Because at the end of the day, you're getting this because of your position. And indeed, when I left, the support decreased. Support from these powerful groups which were around me, giving me bicycles, giving me this. Oh, of course, in the beginning, I was so powerful when I'd just gone into the area because I was getting all these things. So I didn't want to compromise my position. That was another reason why I left. Number three, I realized NRM had been around for some time. And I said, let me go down also and help.
Before things run out of hand.
I mean, and help, not before things get out of hand. What I mean to say is that
to have
as much as government was working very hard, it goes down to the trickle. It's not trickling down.
Sure.
So let me go and be an example so that all these other people also can also benefit. Because you could say also these local governments were also corrupt. And who was going to curb corruption? You, as a member of parliament who's there, you actually go and monitor and see that these things go down. So because someone is going to blame NRM instead of blaming the local government, yet the money here, corruption, is right down here. And of course they played a big role also in my collapse as a member of parliament, because I had become an eyesore as far as they're concerned, monitoring programs, have these people benefited from these, have these people, local government.
So you were a threat.
Yes. Well, you were interfering in their eating.
Sure. Yes.
In their eating there, their district. Because you cannot blame NRM top, but blame the local, because there is the decentralization process, whereby they say, we are sending you money for the health centers, we are sending you money for education, for schools. Every year we appropriate, because you appropriate your budgets as local government every year.
And the money comes.
And the money comes. But what happens? I remember when I just come in, I bought a number of beds, I worked on some health centers and all that. I was shocked to see in the budget of...
the previous years?
The budget, no, I was shocked to see in the budget of the district that they are the ones who had done some of these things. So where does the money go, which they had appropriated for? So what I'm trying to bring out is that you must go with a purpose. So how many women leaders go in with a purpose? I've given you my example.
Yep.
I left that job and people were shocked. Even my boss was shocked. He said, how can you just go? I said, sir, let me go and serve you better there. Let the people feel you. Let the people feel us.
You left a job where people don't call you, I've lost so and so.
Yes.
My child is sick, I need tuition, I need this.
I didn't know it would get to that. But I was enjoying it because sometimes I would help and I would see the impact.
Yeah. Now my question, Honorable, did that, leadership is a calling. And the background you've given us, how you had to, you're like, no, I need to create an impact in my community. Did that give you satisfaction that, yes, it was worth my quitting, leaving that juicy job and like, no, let me go here and hustle with my people?
Yes.
Did it give you that satisfaction, like, yes, it's worth it?
It did. It gave me so much satisfaction because I achieved, for example, Bashir, can you give me this book, please? There's a book there, Kanakata. So, I got so much satisfaction because I achieved a lot. For example, like electricity. I would like you, can you read Luganda?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Mbere njaga nnyo osoma ebintu bino kubanze wenna abyogera.
Bajja gamba weekubitira kadingidi.
Neekubira kadingidi ate nga siriiyo. So I want you to read some of these things. For example, Masanyalazi. Masanyalazi, they are in headings.
Okay. This book is Amelia Chambade Manifesto 2021-2026. MP Mawokota North, Mawokota Kundiko. So here it starts. I'm going to read Luganda. Obubaka bwange. Bannamawokota abalungi balamusiza nnyo. Neebaza gavumenti yaffe eya NRM olw'ebirungi byonna bye tutuuseeko. Then she starts with obubaka bwange. Mu bufunze bino bye tusobodde okutuukako nga mpita mu kusaka okuva mu gavumenti n'ebitongole ebirala. Like for those who can maybe not understand Luganda, it's like
you can translate.
The manifesto is trying to what I've read is like trying to highlight what she has been able to do. That's in the previous term, yes. And through her is it advocacy?
Lobbying, advocacy.
Yeah, from government and other organizations. Yes, Amasanyalaze. In 2010, Amasanyalaze was in 49 villages out of 195 villages. But now as we speak, 100 villages were fully connected.
Yes,
then living maybe 95 villages, that would maybe now be your
That is what I would have been looking at.
Honorable, my producer is telling me need to break off very briefly, and when we return, we'll be just continuing from this very
I can give you a summary.
And maybe to see what the Banama Wokota missed. We're going to take a very, very short break, and when we return, the Hotline Show will continue. My name is Abdul Latif. I thank you for being part of the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digital,
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
How you beautiful Ugandans, it's your girl Teddy. Welcome to the Fancy Flow. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion.
Please, where are you think? Teaching.
What has been confusing you about fashion? Sorry, you said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape.
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
We shall be doing all this in the Fancy Flow. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl, Teddy Tenjo. It is the Fancy Flow.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
We're back on air, and the Hotline Show continues. The discussion continues, actually. Before I went for the break, I was trying to read through the manifesto for Honorable Amelia Chambade, and one of the things that have impressed me here is that during her 10 years as a Member of Parliament for Mawokota North, she was able to connect 100 villages in her constituency. 100 villages were connected to electricity. 100 villages got power. And then when we talk about Mazia Mayonjo Agemidumo, that's piped water. Piped water, she went into leadership there were only 20 villages that had piped water, and within her tenure of 10 years, 61 villages had gotten piped water. She also managed to lobby and, you know, provided 2 ambulances. She also advocated for PG Health Center to become a hospital. Edward is a hospital, right?
It's become, yeah, it's in the process actually.
Okay, yeah, it is a hospital. And then
it was a health center for.
Then NADS programs were really, you know, re-energized to benefit more people. Over 390 scholarships at all levels of education were being offered to the pupils, students of Mawokota North. Mawokota North. And of course, women groups were also enhanced with, you know, some Nsimbi and then other stuff, you know, to boost their kind of work. Then Abavubuka, over 650 youth, you know, were given skills and different things. Well, I think this is what leadership, you know, is.
Yes.
And now the biggest question here is, do these voters differentiate between a leader and I don't want to use the word I wanted to use, but I know the viewers have understood it.
No, you can go ahead. And
do the viewers really, you know, have the capacity to differentiate that this person is a performer and this one is a lamenter? I don't know really.
Now, what has happened, what has emerged of late, is that they are appreciating it now.
They're realizing it.
They are realizing it. And when you look at the previous elections, I think people just got carried away by
the wave.
By the wave that was on. But now they've realized that this one was a performer. Because now they're coming to me and telling me, oh, now we know you performed this, this, and this. But I say, okay, give the new one a chance. Because you gave me a chance to perform in 10 years. Also give this new person a chance to perform. Probably he will. So they're realizing now, but it's taken them all this time to do that.
Honorable.
So the reason why I brought out that, you asked me, what do we expect the women to do?
Yeah.
The women in leadership or in politics. I think that is what I expect them to do. I remember one time I met some women MPs and we were conversing. And I told them, you people, what do you think about these health centers? How do we work? And I was shocked when they told me that, for us, we came to survive. We came to survive. Imagine. I've never forgotten those faces. And I never forgave them. But I said, how can you survive when your people are suffering? They elected you.
But again, Honorable, you see, this, I see that you've done beyond your mandate. You know, because when we have members of parliament, we always expect like 4 roles from you.
Yes.
Legislation, budget.
Exactly.
Supervision of, you know, following up on government programs. And now when we see this, how do you really make it? Because we have that thinking that you now, the Chambadis and other people who do these things, Mononye politics. If I come there and I speak a lot of English there, they don't really value what
Of course, people, of course, other leaders are not very happy with me because they think I went overboard. I think I went overboard. I think I was too emotional about transforming people's lives. I felt that the onus was upon me to transform their lives because they had given me an opportunity to do that for them. So all this is subjective. I mean, people behave differently. Of course, we know we are just supposed to legislate, appropriate budgets, and
represent and
oversight.
And
Of course, and they always say that. And I remember our MP, our speaker used to remind us about that, remind the public about that. But I think that is me. It was personal. I just can't describe it.
You had an emotional connection with it.
I had an emotional connection, but allow me to take you back. When I was actually born in England, but came to Uganda when I was about 5 years. And when I came, I was taken to a boarding school, Gayaza Junior School. And in that school, I realized that there was disparity between the very rich
and the average.
The average. And as I was growing up in Gayaza, I realized that we need to create, to harmonize our
bridge
the gap between the poor and the rich. So I grew up with that, and I vowed, I think when I was about 8 years, I vowed that I would make a change. So it is me. That is why I said it is me. I cannot compare myself to any other person, because sometimes I think people don't understand me. They don't understand me, but I really used to get a lot of satisfaction when I would perform or support someone. It would give me so much satisfaction. For me, it was, leadership was more of service than politics. I don't think I'm a politician. That one shows, actually, I'm not a politician.
Honorable, when you were in still the PPS, did you make attempts to tap into all this, some of the things you...
Oh, yes. When I was at PPS, I supported a lot of people. A lot of people. I used that office to serve, not only in that area.
Across.
But the entire country. I would get them sports sponsorship. I would support them to have maybe structures built. I would help them to start businesses. I would start, and sometimes the president wouldn't know, but I would inform him, of course, when I report. I would help them to get, to support them with jobs and all that. And that is why when I was leaving State House, the president said, "But you are doing it here. You're doing.
What you want to do there,
you're covering a broader scope here than you going to only one area of the whole."
And that is home anyway.
So it is something I started. When I go downtown here, people are just so happy to see me. And I move with a lot of confidence and pride, because I executed my duties with integrity. I'm sorry to boast.
I know, I remember how is that park called? Centenary Park scenario.
Of course, I would get a bit controversial sometimes.
But I remember that time.
I would get a bit, but when you lift the veil and see why I'm doing what I'm doing, is that I always look at the vulnerable groups. For example, like that Centenary Park, I was so disappointed to see that they were coming to demolish everything, irrespective of the capital these small enterprises had put in their small businesses. A fridge is very important for an ordinary person. 20 crates of beer are very important. And that is what I was looking at. I said, let's give them a chance to move with their capital.
Yeah.
And then go and start elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you cannot come overnight and demolish everything. These are jobs. These are businesses. These are livelihoods.
And those employing more people.
Yes, and they're employing more. So you can find that some of my controversies are surrounded by empathy, surrounded by, well, sometimes I get very, very emotional about some of these people, because I know they struggle so hard.
Honorable, I'm dragging into something. This whole conversation tells who Amelia Chambade is.
Right.
And would you consider seeking for another mandate in Mawokota South?
I don't know. It's very difficult because I think they gave me a chance.
And you did your best.
And I did my best. What more am I going to add? That is one. Two, why can't we give another person a chance also to serve? Why do you think you're the only one who is capable of performing miracles?
The bar you set is high.
Yes, it's high.
Mm-hmm. It's high. You left a very big shoe.
Know. Well,
so they made, when they fail to find someone who occupies the show, like, no, you come back.
It's I think we could give another person a chance. You cannot be the only one who would.
You see, that statement, I don't know if you're interested if I take you into that line. There is a time you either we misquoted you or I don't know. That you see, I want to just draw it from what you've just said, that maybe they should have someone else. And there is a time there was that controversy within the public that it's like you are like, no, maybe President Museveni, we have done our best. I don't know. Yeah, it's like you sounded like you're telling him that we've done the best. Maybe we should give, I don't know, we should prepare for, I don't know, maybe you should just shed more light on that.
Yes, I can shed more light on that. That was a very difficult time when we had all lost. We had actually, when you look at the turnover was very high. Members of parliament who couldn't, NRM members of parliament who didn't come back, who didn't make it. And we performed very badly. And I looked at us as ministers. There were about 30 something ministers who lost. Very powerful ministers who I thought had actually, we had
done your best.
Done our best. Okay, let me speak for myself. For me, really, there was no gray area. I had covered everything. So, of course, I was also very emotional. And when they asked me that question, I was thinking aloud, because I thought they had even switched off the cameras. So he asked me a question, he tricked me. You know, you people can be very tricky. So he assured me that they showed as if they had switched off the cameras.
So it was a casual conversation?
So it was a casual conversation. And he asked me, was a Raj. Then, of course, I said, oh, maybe we've been around.
For some time.
For some time. Maybe people want to change. I say that.
But that was a reflection of after so many ministers losing
yes. Because really, why? When you look, now you look at that. Why would any human being, even if it was cheating, they can't cheat you, you can't get 24% after all that. You just sit there and think. How many MPs write their manifestos? None. It's only the president. All of them wave the president's manifesto. But you go down, extract the issues the president has in the manifesto and see what you have done. You contextualize them in your community and performance. So if all of us, so now if someone really sees that, and you're even telling him that this is what I'm going to do in these 5 years.
You're saying what you've done,
yes.
And you're also telling him what you're going to do.
Exactly. And still, they don't vote for you. What do you call that? Really? What do you call that? So it was a bit emotional. I think when people have just come out of some of these things, we should not go for
interviews.
These are lessons that we learn. I was still very emotional.
Well, well, for our viewers, it's the Hotline Show, and we have Honorable Ameria Anne Chambade. I think I need to go through some comments, comments coming from our viewers, and then I will also be opening the lines, studio lines, for those who wish to, maybe if there is, you need to ask something, you need to ask Honorable, maybe you need clarity on whatever she has said. Our studio lines are open. For those on M10, just call on 0789 017 145. And then those on Airtel, you can call us on 0759 132 310. And then for the, let me check some comments here. Hey, there's so many. Someone is Muduse Fred. Chitufu Twezimba yatuyamba nnyo. Then Musoke area.
Twezimba is here. I can give it to you also.
Ah, okay. Twezimba Development Foundation.
A whole
HIV Center. Yeah, so Muddu says, Fred says Chitufu Twezimba yatuyamba nnyo. Then there is Musoke area. He says amen. Then this one said, naye help us oyogereko na batyala malwalira abasawo bongera okufa ku bulwadde. Okay, I don't know, but anyway, it says tuyambe help us oyogereko na batwala, I think you went abatwala amalwaliro abasawo bongera okufa ku balwadde. That is in your area. Then this one said, she didn't know me. I composed her a song and gave me State House scholarship. We have never met. God bless you, Ameria.
There are so many I don't know.
Yeah. Then Brooke Williams, I heard she's asking for another job. I expect her to chill and enjoy. Brooke Williams, I think, I'm not
looking for another.
Then he says, Mama, do you believe that it's high time for Kaguta? Time to organize a peaceful transition. Then, Bashir, thank you. Thank you for hosting Honorable Ameria Chambade. I am going to ask the team to help me. I always have issues with, I have many comments here, but unfortunately I can't read all of them. Just kindly help me, take a screenshot and then share them with me so that I read them through. And then for the studio lines, they are still open, 0789 017 145, and then 0759 132 310. Now, Honorable, you were in State House for quite a long time. Just recently, I was watching one of your interviews.
Which one now?
I don't remember, but I was watching one of
your
interviews. And then you narrated how you were working with your dad, and then like, you know, you know, and so like so like, you know, you actually know, I don't remember the TV, but you had lost a car, so you were trying to I don't know.
Katebe NBS.
I think so.
Yes.
So you had gone to follow up on your car and then reaching there like, but you, where do you work? You know, I have a job. So you've been with Mr. Museveni for quite a long time. And if there is maybe someone who understands him more than he's the closest family, you should be among those other people. Because you knew him because he was a minister by then. Before he became a president.
As a Minister of Defense.
Minister of Defense,
then he went to regional corporation. Then we went to military commission.
Yeah.
Then we went into exam.
Then the elections, 1980. Then he lost because he only got one member of parliament, Crispus Chiyonga, by then, I remember. And now, one would say, how is the experience now that much of your time you've been in the State House, and now you have come to the open? Try to share the picture for us. How is it the other side and then this side?
Well, it's three things. Number one, this is the time when you have real friends.
Okay.
The others are conditional. When you're in State House, of course, you have a lot of friends. I witnessed it.
Who are not true.
Who are not true. I witnessed it during Christmas. The household were full of gifts from all sorts of people. Cards, you decorate even outside in the garden. But recently, last Christmas, I mean, when I stopped being a minister, stopped being a PPS, member of parliament, it's a different story. You realize that very few people, you know, my father used to say that life is like a sieve, that people stay in because of conditions or reasons. But when those things are no longer there, they go through. So the very few you retain, you will find that you have retained very few people. So that is one. You have false friends when I was a PPS. False. Two, you have time for your family now, which you never had.
You mean the other side, it's more busy than here?
It is so busy.
Oh.
It is so busy, so busy, that I never had time for my family. But now I have time for my family. They would make appointments to see me, imagine. Whenever they wanted me. Mom, when will you be home? When will you be? I don't know, I'll be there maybe tomorrow, maybe the other day. Because you're always on the move. You're in Gulu tomorrow, today, the other day you're in Karamoja, the other day you're in Dubai, the other day you're in Ghana. So life was so busy. So now you have time. It was so busy. Of course, if it is for someone who enjoys pomp and prestige, and they would love it. But I'm a very simple person. I want a simple life. I lead a very simple life, and that is what I'm enjoying now. Of course, as far as resources are concerned, you have enough. You never have enough. Of course, there, you know, you would have a trip and get some money. But for me,
it's not that.
It's not that. But now I lead a very humble life, modest life, and I'm happy. I do what I want. I go where I want to go. And then when you're there, you never have, I remember, I'm a gym person, although I'm not very small, but you can see I'm, And before, when you'd go to the gym, it would be like a meeting. People would trail you, even jogging. People would come driving after you, trail you. I want to see the president. I wrote a letter. I did this. But now I go to the gym and enjoy myself. Do my session for 2 hours, do whatever I want to do. So I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying the life that I'm leading now. But of course, I'm missing service, serving people. Because here you're not really, you can, for example, as an advisor, you visit some industries, you write some reports. But if you enjoy seeing fruits of your service, I miss that. Because I want to look at myself in a week and say, how many people have I helped this week? How many people have I served? So that one was a selfless life, but now this one is more of a selfish life because you're doing whatever you want, and that's not me.
Wow. For our viewers, I really thank you for following the discussion. And there's some more comments here.
There was someone who said that I'm looking for a job. There was something that went online that I was looking for governorship. I have never lobbied for any job. Red paper, I wrote something. I wanted to issue a disclaimer But sometimes it's better to keep quiet. But Red Pepper, I don't know why you came up with that story, that have been lobbying for a job of a governor. Really? I have never, and will never lobby for any job.
Wow.
Most of the jobs I've got, I've also been surprised.
They just come,
Yes.
they come your way, they
Yeah,
just look
just
for
come,
you.
yes.
Right from your very first job.
Precisely. Precisely.
Well, more comments here. Thank the team. I thank the team for sharing the comments here. Sebolinde John Bosco, omubwati, ombaka wange, owa parliament. Teri akola byokola emawokota. Olaba okyatambuza program zo. That is Sebolinde John Bosco. This one has been circled. I don't know the team circled. I can't read the name. And said. Tumwebaze Godfrey Sunday. Okay. Farida, thank you. Then this one says, Honorable, there is a great deal of women in key positions, particularly our very own government. Would you conclusively say that they are actually influential, or we just putting up a show for the sake of gender inclusion? Can I repeat it?
I don't want to create enmity here. But
let me repeat this question.
Okay, repeat it.
Honorable, there is a great deal of women in key positions, particularly our very own government. Would you conclusively say that they are actually influential, or we just putting up a show for the sake of gender inclusion? Okay, then another question here. Another comment. Our very own. The women have forgotten about us when they go into big positions. Actually, they only stand with us when still in bad conditions. Like us, they will do activism, advocating for women. But once appointed, they will forget they were passionate about women at one point. Fellow women have fought fellow women.
It's true.
This is gender.
It's true. I told you that. I told you that we are going to lose our achievement.
Yes.
Because that person has actually summarized what I said. You remember? I said women fight one another. And then, of course, when they come into leadership, they forget to perform. To perform to the people's expectations. But then sometimes it also depends on what they want us to do. Because sometimes they want you to go to Nyembe, funerals, you go and cook with the women, you know. So sometimes these are the things they expect us to do. To attend every funeral.
I think it's what non-performers have chosen to do. It's the only way where they can be spotted. Like, no, te wambula just nyentana.
You was an man. You know what I'm Yeah, you're right. But that statement is loaded. The one you've just read. Sometimes it's better not to comment on such things because they think you're fighting your fellow women. You would end up like them. As I say, if she was a performer, where is she? Or you know, you'd get attacks. But as I said, sometimes leadership is translated by is subjective. How I thought leadership is not another person would think leadership should be.
It's viewed according to the lenses one is putting on.
Lens, yes, by individuals.
Now, I have one question, Honorable. It has really, disturbed me for a while. There is this whole thing of women emancipation. You know, time and again we talk about women emancipation, women blah blah blah. But what shocks me is that time and again, from year in, year out, they talk of the same names. No, look at Rebecca Kadaga. Look at Amelia Chambadi. Look at Janet Museveni. Oh, we have a caller. Oh, we've lost. You know, you see the same names time and again. We have Kadaga, we have Chambadi, we have Matembe. You know, time and again, these are the same names they talk about.
I don't think a woman has been fully emancipated. Let me be honest with you. No. Ask me why. When you go to the grassroots, of course, it's only a selection. I mean, it's only a group of people who have managed to really go through to make a breakthrough into that powerful word emancipation. But when you go down to the grassroots, you find that the woman...
We have a caller. Yes, caller, hello?
Hello?
Yes, your name and where you're calling from?
Good evening. First of all, my name is Nathan. I'm calling from Busheng.
Nathan from Busheng?
Busheng,
okay.
Yes. Hosting Honorable Anne, and we thank her for taking the time to come and talk to the people.
Thank you.
I have one particular question. Considering her history, she has worked with mostly people who have army background, her kind of politics, serving also as a presidential advisor. I wanted to ask if there has been a time in her life of service undermined because she is a woman, particularly, or anything of that sort, because she's a woman, you know, I think generally that is it, yes. Thank you so much.
I don't know if I've gotten that question.
He's saying that I shouldn't have been a presidential advisor?
I think because given the kind of...
the track record?
Yes.
I think... can I comment on it? Oh, she said I should have been...
like, I think...
I should have done something better?
Yes, given the kind of...
track record?
Track record, it's like the curve is going down.
But a lot of... I think I've been a victim of my honesty. The things I've said, the way I have behaved. I think it's one way of showing, and maybe people think you have generated a lot of popularity. So,
hello?
It is also one way of showing that you can, you are not as...
We have another caller, son. Yes.
Hello? Yes, please. The question was...
Yes.
That in service, and especially given the fact that she was a presidential advisor, or still is in some way, has she faced any kind of, discrimination or being undermined because she's a woman, even when she has been in a place she should have influence over some other people, but because she's a woman and given the fact that she worked with the background, has there been a time she has been undermined service?
Okay, thank you, Nathan. I think you've gotten him now. Yeah, like, have you experienced some sort of maybe being a woman, that there is a way that, like, maybe you're discriminated, maybe you're sidelined, much as you're holding those bigger positions, but like by virtue of you being a woman, and you find yourself not doing maybe what is supposed to be done, because the people around you think that maybe a woman does not have maybe what it takes to perform or to do this something of the sort.
Yes, I've been, for example, like undermining. Undermining is, I've been a subject of being undermined, but mainly by women.
Okay.
Sometimes by interpreting the things I've said as negative and blowing them out of proportion. even going to the extent of abusing me on the public radios. So I've been mainly undermined by women, but mainly, really, I think it's mainly women.
Okay.
Not men.
Well, for our viewers, the whole discussion is looking at women in the 60 years of independence. There is a lot to draw from the story of Honorable Amelia Chambade, the journey she has walked, and of course, it's an inspiration to many other young women, young girls there, because not so many people are privileged, like Honorable has been. She has never looked for a job. Jobs find her where she is. But for you who may not have such an opportunity, there is a lot you need to learn from her story, from what she has been able to do, you know, the soft heart for her community, being so much connected, like, no, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to change the narrative, just like when we change the narrative on social media here. I think this is so great, and maybe every other leader would be really into this line of, you know, doing work. Now, we want to go back to the parliament. Parliament, the expectations of the public are so much different from what takes place there. If there was another chance, of course you've said no, but if that chance comes up again, what's that other thing, one thing you would really love to change about our parliament, especially in the line of women and doing business in parliament?
I think what I would like women to do is to be more active in their areas of in the areas that have elected them. For example, ensuring that the services trickle down, but also lobby for their communities, especially the vulnerable groups.
Yeah.
I know Parliament calls for only legislative work, but we could go an extra mile and participate actually in lobbying and supporting our people, because they elect us to go and represent them. Representing them is okay, but what are you doing yourself? You as a person who's been elected. So our participatory role should be premised on actual service to the communities that have elected us, our voters. That is my opinion. If I was in Parliament, I would have done that. I mean, advocated for that. But then that's one. Two, as a woman, as an MP, at least a woman, you ensure that you nurture or groom younger women to come up in places of leadership.
Have you done that in the 10 years?
Yes. When you look at the list, most of them actually are girls on the list that have gone that have got scholarships for. Most of them. But the problem is that once these young women attain education, they want to move out of the area. They don't want to work in the community. When I had Twezimbe Development Foundation, I employed young people from the area to groom them as leaders. Bashir is one of them.
He told me.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's one of the people I groomed. I educated them, groomed them to work in their communities. But can you ask Bashir whether he's going to work in the community? He will tell you, he keeps telling me, Mom, I'm not interested in politics. So I don't know whether it was a raw deal. They don't want to go back. Because once you educate them, they find other jobs. Some are lawyers. during the campaigns, I told them, you come and tell these people what we have done. Some of them came, these were there. But the others who never even bothered to come and tell these people what I had done for them and what they were going to do for them. And what it means for the communities. Because sometimes the community will say, she has only helped so-and-so, so-and-so's son, so-and-so's daughter. So how are we benefiting? They don't realize that actually you're grooming. You're grooming young people to work for them. Even the young person who took over was one of my people.
Oh.
He was a musician. But to see that there was a shift that he wanted to work for the community, that's an achievement. Because
it's one of your goals now. You empowered them and now they've...
Yes. He was my case study. He was my...
Now, Honorable, let's talk about Amelia, the minister. We've seen now Amelia, the PPS, Amelia, the Member of Parliament. Now, let's talk about Amelia, the minister.
Now, Amelia, the minister. Now, when I came into that ministry, I remember when they appointed me, people said, Amelia, you who has worked for the president for all these years, how can he give you such a dead ministry? I said, what do you mean by dead?
Sorry, I have another call. Call online, hello.
Hello.
Yes, please. Your name and where you're calling from.
This is Rita. I'm calling from Makerere University.
Rita from Makerere, yes.
Julie.
Julie, oh sorry, Julie.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the show.
Thank you.
I have a few questions to Honorable.
Okay.
As a minister, are there any decisions she has made and she has regret?
Okay.
The second question is, has there been something she regrets?
I beg your pardon?
And then the last question, how we ask Honorable, does she miss the house? I mean, there's a lot of fun going on that side. Does she miss the house?
Yes. Julie, we need to get your second question. We missed your second question. You made any decisions and you regret. And then Jimmy State House.
Oh, State House. Okay. State House. Okay. Before I answer, maybe you had asked me a question, what we did. Should I answer first?
Yes.
Decisions I can talk about now. I can talk about the decisions I made in the ministry. So I find the ministry was quite, well, not very functional. I don't want to say totally dysfunctional because it had skilled manpower, but it was a low-key performer. So we made a number of changes. Actually, we embarked on a number of projects. First of all, we thought that regional integration was important. East African community was completely shattered. So we started renegotiating to see that we
cross-border trade something?
Yes, we improve on cross-border trade, we improve on, we reignite the spirit of integration. Yeah. And it really boomed.
Actually, that's the time.
Because remember, even our trade volumes were higher than Kenya. At one point, we went above Kenya, but unfortunately now they've gone down. Then I remember we were talking about African Continental Free Trade Area, but never took place. But this time, we worked seriously on it. And in fact, because I was very passionate about it, I was elected by all the African countries to chair the negotiations. And I chaired the negotiations for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And in record time, they were shocked. 1 year, it has never happened for an agreement to be negotiated in a year and completed and implemented. 1 year, Namilia Chambers as chair. And that was African Continental Free Trade Area. So now it's functioning. Then there were these issues about Chinese. I remember I even almost fought in Parliament. Sometimes I would get a bit aggressive, I'm sorry. But when I am very passionate about something. So they wanted me to chase the Chinese. But I said, no, we cannot just chase the Chinese. Let us now, because they were saying their products were on the market and all that, I said, let us bring Bubu. Let us now advocate for Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. And we tax the imported goods, but highly, and we promote
local goods.
Local goods. That was a big achievement. For example, like medicine, pharmacy, factories opened up. There were only 4. They became 13. Instead of importing drugs, we were buying from here.
So the Chinese came and built the factories here instead of...
Apparently not Chinese. Apparently there were Asians who took opportunity, sometimes partnering with Ugandans. Okay. Yes. But also building here is good because it is employment for us.
Yeah, sure.
And all that. So Bubu hit the roof. That is one of the decisions I
So Bubu was your initiative?
It was mine.
When Bashir came here, when he saw this, the first thing he was like, oh, Bubu here.
Yes.
That's the one.
Yes. It was on my... Because when people... The minute when we came in, the minister tried to bring it in, but people resisted it. But I said, let us go for it. Then Bubu, then PIVOC, because substandard goods were coming in. So now these goods had to be verified at the point of entry. UNBS had tried to introduce it, but it was resisted by the public. Remember, there was even a strike. And I went downtown.
Yes, for the traders, Kasita.
Yes. And I went down to meet the Kasitas. You know, they abused me so badly. But for me, when I'm doing something, I stand my ground. So checking goods from the point of origin, that reduced at least by 30% the importation of substandard goods onto the market. Supporting vendors, I realized that that City Council was harassing these vendors. I said, where do they want them to go? So remember, I went downtown one time with the vendors because I wanted to pick their mind, but I also wanted to build their confidence in the in the system.
Yep.
And I realized that there was so much we could do, and I started a program with Uganda training, this vocational institution at Nakawa.
Uganda Industrial Training,
MTAC,
okay.
Management Training.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Soteri, Mr. Soteri, because we started a program for vendors. And by the time I left the ministry, we had 3 intakes and almost 680 vendors had trained. They trained in skills, saloon, catering, tailoring, and leatherworks.
That's different from the presidential initiative?
More or less.
Okay.
Just different, but we're giving them skills, but we had not empowered them with machinery. But it made a difference. These vendors, some of them are having that certificate hanging in their premises. Yeah. It made a difference. You know, some vendors became very successful. One started a tailoring project, employing people to tailor clothes. Others, others started saloons. But of course, others would keep disturbing me. They would come with their bananas, a bag like that. Kakati, the restaurants today I haven't sold. You buy. I'll end up with a hippo. Of course, they are missing me.
So are those programs still running, or they ended with you?
Unfortunately, they are low-key. Nobody is very passionate about them. I think it was really, you know, with leadership, it has to be that personality of a leader has to filter through his actions. or through the implementation of certain.
Someone has sent me here a message. He says, Museveni tayagala bagizi. Uyu mchara yali akola eri nga ta. So okay. So it's like when you were in State House, you didn't have public appeal. So now you left State House, no jamo public, so you became a darling. Museveni tabiyagala. I don't know.
That one is very difficult for me to comment on because you don't know how he feels. You don't know. You don't know. It's difficult. So
well, it's really.
So the ministry should, you know, we were performers in every area. UDC.
You came in after Mutende?
No, Mutende was part of my team, but he
was actually your junior minister.
Yeah, yes. He passed on. That was our first term.
So you came in after?
After Mkwaya.
Oh, James. No.
Mkwaya Janet.
Mkwaya, yes, Janet
yes.
Mkwaya.
Yes.
Hajat Janet Mkwaya.
So our mark, UDC was established. UNBC was a performer. It started opening offices. Border posts were built. Regional integration was thriving. You know, really, that ministry, there's so much we achieved.
As we get closer to, to the end of the show, let's look into the roles as a minister, as an advisor. We are living in a country where many advisors complain. They have nowhere to take the advisors, and they actually take years without seeing the big man.
Yes.
Is Mary an exception?
First of all, people should get out of this mentality of seeing as in seeing. This is a digital world.
Yep.
Write what you want. First of all, do your role. For example, recently I met the cement manufacturers, wrote a report. He wrote back, linked them up with the necessary ministries. Now we are going to see Minister of Energy. They had issues. I wrote to Minister of... So as an advisor, you have to look at your roles and see how you are going to perform. It's not sitting in front of the president all the time. So you write, he responds, he tells you what he wants you to do, or he can give you a phone call once in a while and tell you do this, 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 and that.
I think now I understand where that is coming from. You know, Mary has seen Mr. Museveni for over 40 years.
Yes.
And now these other advisors, you know, these advisors, they believe that if they're working,
yes,
they have to interface with
exactly.
him. So maybe that's also another issue. And we are just getting to the end of this show. And I want to give you 2 minutes to give me a closing shot on it. Yeah. No. Before we do that, Julie's questions have not been answered.
Oh, regrets.
Yes.
Regrets on... Have I done anything that I regretted?
Yes. Have you ever made any decision like, I wish I would have not done this? No.
No. But I think coming back the third term, I regret that.
Okay.
I shouldn't have done that.
You would have not done.
I think 2 terms were enough.
Okay.
And my family had already engaged me and told me not to come back. Yeah. But I came back and I regret that. And I regret the outcome because it's too humiliating.
Especially when...
To be honest, especially when you have tried.
You've laid your ground.
So that one is one of my biggest regrets. But I just have to learn how to live with it. It happened. And that's why I don't want to go back. Because chali chikukoze chi akali kakulumye kakola katya waliwo there is a
omusota gwali gulumye ko ne bwana bomugu.
So that one was my biggest regret.
And then what do you miss in State House?
In State House? State House is just like one of those places, workplaces. I miss, of course, I miss the exposure. I miss learning new things, because every day was a learning curve. You'd meet a minister from Kuwait talking about oil, that's a learning curve. You meet a minister from Norway talking about how they process timber, that is a... So it was like an academic institution. So I miss knowledge. I love knowledge. I miss attaining that knowledge that you'd get. In fact, I'm trying to write a book about some of the achievements that I have made in my life. So I miss that learning, that exposure to information, global knowledge, regional information that you cannot get even in any institution of learning.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Honorable. And
I miss that.
Just I need to get your closing shot, and then
Yes.
we close the show.
So first of all, I'd like to congratulate Ugandans generally over the 60 years of independence. Sometimes I listen to these radios and I hear people saying, we have not attained anything. That's not true. We have actually attained a lot as a country. And when we compare Uganda to other African countries, you find that, for example, as far as digitalization is concerned, we are far ahead next to South Africa. You find that our entrepreneurs, Uganda has the highest number of entrepreneurs. You find that women entrepreneurs are more as compared to other countries, but also women politicians. I want to congratulate women. Is that as much as there have been some shortfalls, but at least we have achieved at least 60% of our goals. Let me talk to leaders. Leaders as in women, leaders as in whatever position you hold. Some of you are CEOs, some of you are managers of organizations, some of you are grassroots managers of even these Nigina groups. You have to look at the following issues or following guidelines. First of all, look at your esteem. How is your self-esteem? You have to build it with time. 2, you have to nurture yourself by educating yourself, empowering yourself through knowledge, even listening to a radio program in the evening when you are going to bed. Integrity is very important. Integrity has been one of my biggest or strongest points. That one I'm very proud to admit, that no one can actually point a finger at me for having been involved in any dubious deal or anything. So please maintain that. You as a leader, you should also have positive ambitions. Positive ambitions to transform your community, to transform the people around you, to transform women around you, but also to transform yourself. Overcome fear. We women, we fear, fear, fear. That spirit of fear will drain you, will drown you. But overcome that fear and say, it is me, I can perform. Make sacrifices and teamwork. Professional consultations are key because everybody has knowledge of some kind.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for listening to me, but I want to thank Hotline for looking for me and for giving me this opportunity. I'm humbled.
We're humbled too.
To have looked for me to talk about this powerful subject. I hope I haven't disappointed you.
Not really.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. We are also extremely delighted that you've been able to really spare some time to be part of our discussion, and especially for the young women who really look up to you. There is a lot. Whatever you share, it's impacting someone else. It's impacting a younger girl. It's impacting another Amelia Chambande rising up.
Oh, really?
So we are really happy that
I'm humbled.
You've created time, you've honored our invitation. And then for our viewers, I really want to thank you for being part of this show and all our other programmings that each time we're here, you're always part of of our audience. We really thank you. And then I also need to thank the team I have worked with, Tenjo on the camera, and then the production team in the control room. Thank you so much. And for now, I have to say good night until next month again with another edition of The Hotline. My name is Abdul Latif. God bless.
Good. Thank
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.